Hello and welcome everybody. Today we are here for something extremely special. We've received a sea of questions around NSAT, which is the Newton Scholastic Aptitude test. It is the first gateway for students who want to get into NST in 2024, and naturally so. It is an entrance exam, and right from comments on our social media channels, on emails, the questions are around how do we prepare, what to expect from NSAT, and what is it that we will be testing and we want to look for in the students the most. And we're here to just do that. This series will be your ultimate guide. So without further ado, I am Aparna and I lead the brand marketing at Newton School of Technology. And Newton School of Technology is where we are bringing the best of academia, the best of industry, the best entrepreneurs for our students to become the top tech leaders of India. And the first semester, the founding batch has been tremendously successful in various aspects. When it comes to competitive programming, the gold standard contest, which is the ICPC, our students cleared the prelims and qualified for the regionals just in their first semester. And given the fact that they were just like 4 months into the program and they were able to do this, is something that we're extremely proud of. Having said that, they've learned from the best mentors. They've learned from people who are working at Google, Microsoft, Amazon, CXOs, founders of some of the biggest startups and companies in India. Yeah, and not just that, they've had a blast when it comes to enjoying their college life. As you might have seen, they've celebrated all festivals, the kind of atmosphere here, they're relishing every bit of it. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. This guide will be led by Ram, who is a member of admissions committee, and will dive deep into every section, exam pattern, what is it that we want to test and why is it that we're testing that. So Ram, over to you. Please take over. And students, good luck for the NSAT of 2024.
Thanks Aparna for the warm introduction. Welcome students to the NSAT preparatory series. In this video series, we would be describing few broad areas. First would be the objective of the exam. Second would be what are the sections in the exam and what is the prerequisite for that sections. And then in third part, we will be going into the details of each section. Okay. So that is the broad idea of these video series. We'll start with first the objective, why we take this exam in first place, like what do we want to evaluate. So every year, like we are having thousands of applications at Newton School of Technology, and we want to filter out few specific candidates from that. And okay, so what are the 8 qualities that we look out in the candidates or prospective candidates? So there are 3 broad categories we have. First is like there are 3, I would say, broad skills that we have or broad competencies that we have. The first competency we look out for is structured reasoning and data analysis. So in this, like what we are looking at is that if there is some real world scenario, are you able to build structure out of it? Are you able to understand the cause and effect relationship and understand why things are happening, what is the reason behind them? As well as if you are like, are you able to like parameterize the data in that? Are you able to analyze the data in that and build meaningful insights? So that is the first competency we are looking at. The second competency that we are looking out for in the prospective candidates is communication skills. And since the exam would be a written exam, so we are looking at written communication skills. Here the competency that we want to evaluate is that if you have some idea in your mind, are you able to express it to someone else, and are you able to understand someone's idea in the English language? So that is the broad competency we want to test, and that is what is also required in the later life in the BTech program as well as in the career of tech and AI. So why is this? Because whenever you will be working in your career as a software developer or an AI scientist or any other like tech career, you will be working in teams, and communication skills play a very important role in like working in a team. So that is the second aspect, communication skills. The third aspect is mathematics. So computer science and artificial intelligence is built on the foundation of mathematics. So like if you are planning for any other career, let's say a lawyer or an author or a doctor, so mathematics might not play a foundational role in there, but in careers of computer scientist, software developer, AI scientist, mathematics is foundational, and that is why it is also tested in this exam. So you need to have basic level mathematics of class 10th, 11th and 12th. Based on that, you will be building up the further advanced topics of mathematics in your college program, BTech program, and that would be very, very important in your career as a data scientist or a software developer or any other tech career later. Okay, so that is why we test the mathematics in first place. I'll give a broad overview of the structure of the exam. So the exam is divided in 3 sections based on the 3 competencies that I discussed. So the first section would be general aptitude, through which we would be testing the structured reasoning and data interpretation competency that we discussed before. Here there would be 2 subsections, logic and data interpretation, and it would have around 20 questions. The second section would be algorithmic thinking, and that would have around 10 questions. We'll also go deeper into what these sections are and what kind of questions are there in the later part of this video. The second broad section is English, which will test your communication skills. Here 2 types of subsections are there. One would be reading comprehension and second would be language reasoning, each having around 10 questions. And the third broad section is mathematics, where we would be having one subsection of 10th class mathematics and second subsection of 11th and 12th class mathematics. So 20 questions would be there from 10th class maths, as well as 10 questions would be there from 11th and 12th class maths. So that is the broad structure and the questions. So there would be roughly 80 questions combined, and it would the time you have for solving these questions is around 120 minutes, that is 2 hours. So that is the duration of the exam. A few broad guidelines that I would like to share. So first would be all questions would be of MCQ type. So even in English, language reasoning or maths or general aptitude, all the questions would be of MCQ type. There might be 4 or 5 options for each question, and there would be only one correct answer. So there won't be multiple correct answers. That is the first guideline I would like to share. Second would be in a lot of questions, approximations might be required, or you might have the options are also part of the question. So without seeing an option, one might not be able to deduce the answer. So for considering these 2 type of questions are there, our suggestion would be that select the most accurate and appropriate answer from the given option. It might not be 100% correct because of approximations, but select the answer which you feel is the most accurate and appropriate. Okay. Third would be the marking scheme. So all questions would be having equal marks, +4 for every correct answer and -1 for every incorrect answer. So I would strongly discourage to do any guesswork. If you know the answer, only then then attempt that question. After you appear for the exam, within a few days you will receive a normalized score. That score would be in the range of 0 to 10. Okay, it would take into a lot of factors with respect to how many correct answers were there, what was the ratio of incorrect answers, how much time did you take in different sections, and a lot of other areas also. Lastly, in NSAT, you will be able to shuffle across the sections. So let's say if you start with first section and then if you would like to switch to other section or switch back, there is complete flexibility. Inside questions also and inside sections also, you can go back and forth across the paper at any time you want. Alright, so now we'll go deeper into each of the sections. What are the kind of questions you can expect, what kind of prep you can do for each of the sections. So we'll go into detail. First, let us start with the general aptitude section. So in this section, the idea is to evaluate your structured reasoning and data analysis skill. So what kind of questions you can expect in general aptitude section? So I would divide that into 2 parts. First would be the source of the data, and second would be the type of questions in that. So source of data can be tables or graphs, or let's say for example bar graph or line graph, or even pie charts. The third might be Venn diagrams that you guys you might have studied in your class 11th, earlier in the class 11th. And the fourth would be scatter plots. So it is similar to dot graph, but I don't think you might have problem with that. It would be very easy to grasp. Then on each type of these data, there would be some kind of questions that would be there. So the first category of question would be arrangement of people or objects. So let's say if 10 people are sitting across the dining table and you are given some information about the arrangement of those people. So that is one kind of question. Second kind of question would be navigation using direction. So you might have seen the sample paper. So there is a specific question that if a rover is moving from start to end and you are given direction, so how do you operate with directions? The third category can be family relations. So let's say if you are given few constraints and some information about what is the relationship between two people or a group of people, are you able to deduce and are you able to synthesize all of that information and build meaningful insights from that? And the fourth category of question is encryption and decryption. So you might have played this game earlier, during your childhood. So for example, if you are given apple, A-P-P-L-E, now you have to encrypt it in form of numbers. So A stands for 1, E stands for 5, and then you pass the number to someone else and they deduce that information back from the number. So if the message is, let's say 1, then they would deduce it as A. If the number is 5, then they would deduce it as E. And similarly, they would come back to apple. So this is a very simplified version, but the more advanced version and having different dimensions to this problem would be considered in this exam. So that is the first section of data analysis as well as logical reasoning. The second subsection in this area would be the computational thinking part. So here the idea is to test if you are able to think in terms of algorithm or think like a computer thinks. Okay. So now you don't need to have coding knowledge for this section, okay? But what you need is that you should be able to grasp information well and build structure out of it, which is the core competency that we are looking at. So for example, in the sample set itself, we have a question of a Mars rover. If it is going from point A to point B, that is start point to end point, and the rover understands specific set of instructions. So are you able to understand that what instructions are required for the rover to reach from start to end, because that is what fundamentally programming is, that is what fundamentally coding is, and here you will be testing that ability. But for this section you don't need any coding knowledge. Everything that you need to solve the question would be given in the question description itself. Here you can expect two types of questions. First type would be if the outcome is given that hey, this is the start point, this is the end point, and you need to travel in this direction. Now, what are the set of instructions that you will give to that rover, or in case some other type of example is given. And the second is, if the instructions are given, then you need to deduce what is the specific outcome that will result after we execute this instruction. So that is the second part, computational thinking. The next part is English. So here, as I mentioned, the objective of this section is to evaluate if you are able to express your ideas and understand someone else's ideas in English language comfortably. So that is the skill that we are testing here. Now for this, the prerequisite is that you should be familiar with reading text as well as identifying the reasons as well as insights from a given text. So now you don't need to have any specific grammar knowledge for this. If you don't remember grammar rules, it is fine, but you should be able to understand that hey, this sentence is correct, this is incorrect. You should be able to do it fluently. So that is the idea here. What kind of questions you can expect here? So there, the first type might be, let's say some piece of text or passage is given, and are you able to understand what the author is trying to convey? So are you able to summarize what the author is conveying, or are you able to identify the tone of the author? Is he being sarcastic? Is he being angry? Is he being informative? So that is the tone of the passage. The second type of question can be supporting or opposing arguments. So let's say if someone is describing a text, someone is describing about artificial intelligence, and there are two people talking. One is saying that hey, artificial intelligence might be harmful for our species. The other person is saying no, it would help us a lot in a lot of ways. So are you able to understand what is the supporting argument or opposing argument, or are you able to give a supporting and opposing argument to these to this discussion or not? So that is the idea here. The third kind of question would be error or usage identification. That if multiple sentences or text is given, are you able to identify if there is an error in that? And also, what would be the correct version? So again, here you don't need to memorize the rules of grammar, but you should be able to differentiate a fluent sentence from a sentence having some grammatical error. Okay. The fourth category would be cause and effect relationship. So it is building on the building on the idea that are you able to deeply understand the text or passage or not. So when you deeply understand something, you should be able to identify what is the cause and what is the effect. What is driving that change or what is driving that event? Are you able to identify that or not? And lastly, if you based on that, if you are able to infer second order, if you are able to derive second order inferences from that. So for example, if someone is describing about COVID pandemic, so are you able to deduce that, hey, if lockdown happens, then students might not be able to go to school physically, and that might hamper their education or overall experience during those years. So this is a second order analysis. So similar second order analysis would be expected from the text that you are given. So that is about second section, that is about English. The third section of mathematics. So as I mentioned, mathematics is foundational for computer science and artificial intelligence, and not just during your BTech program, but also in the later career, because computer science is built on foundation mathematics. Like statistics plays a huge part in machine learning models. Basic calculus plays very important role in the vectorization of graphics, and a lot of other areas which are crucial for the career in tech, and that is why we also teach the advanced part of mathematics in the BTech program, for which you need to have some foundational knowledge of class 10th, 11th and 12th. So that is the idea here, and that is why we test mathematics in first place. Okay. So now in terms of preparation, what are the areas we test? So up to class 10th mathematics, I would divide it in two parts, up to 10th class mathematics and class 11th and 12th mathematics. So up to class 12, the basic topics can be like number system, are you able to identify LCM and HCF and divisibility. The second would be arithmetic, like if different ratios are given, if averages are given, if percentages are given, are you able to solve question based on that. Third would be algebra, like polynomials, basic inequalities, basic linear equations, and applied mathematics. So that is the real world application of mathematics. Let's say, for example, questions having speed or profit and loss or interest. So these are the examples of real world where mathematics is required, right? So this is the section of class 10th mathematics. Then there is another section of class 11th and 12th mathematics. So in this section, again, not all topics of class 11th and 12th we want specific topics which are very critical to a career in computer science and AI. Or let's say, for example, if you become a software developer, if you become an AI scientist, if you become a machine learning engineer, so these topics would be fundamental in all those careers, and that is why we test them. So first would be set, functions and PNC, like the very basics. Then sequences and series, AP, GP, HP. Then calculus, so differentiation and integration. And matrices and determinants are very important for the later career. And lastly, probability and statistics, that would be the most important in class 11th and 12th mathematics that you would be using in your career, especially in AI and machine learning. So these are the broad topics that you need to cover for the mathematics section. Alright, so I think that is the section-wise description that we wanted to convey in this video series. Thank you for joining.